Hey guys, Brass F0311 here. What we have today is my new 1911. It's a Sig Scorpion, full size, standard 1911. So what we've done is we've upgraded the mainspring from a 23-pound factory spring to a 26-pound heavier mainspring. We've also got the extra poundage firing pin spring, and we have an 18.5-pound variable recoil spring. I've also upgraded the factory recoil spring guide rod to a Wilson Combat standard recoil spring guide rod, because the Wilson Combat is larger in diameter than the factory recoil spring guide rod. The factory was small. It allowed a lot of play and slop for the recoil spring, where the Wilson Combat fits nice and snug inside the recoil spring, just helping it to stay in position and run smooth. So we're going to take a few shots now and function check this thing, and we're at about 7 yards to those paper plates. We're going to see if it works. So let's take a few shots. Okay guys, we got our eyes and ears on. Also just wanted to show you, this is the 45 ACP bullet from Buffalo Bore, 255 grain hard cast. This is what we're going to be shooting. Let's take some shots. First round, failure to feed. Okay guys, what we've got is extraction is kicking the casings out about 8 to 12 feet away. It's not too bad. We might have to look at putting in a heavier recoil spring, but we're going to run a few more magazines through it and see if we have consistency with that, and we'll also see if it possibly was a magazine problem for the one hiccup. So let's shoot some more. That worked good. 8 rounds fed just fine. Let me check the cases, see what kind of distance we got. Hey guys, that worked out pretty good. Most of the cases are staying about 8 to 12 feet away from the gun, which is good. So we might not have to do anything as far as upgrading springs. I'm pretty pleased with how it's turning out. So what we're going to do now is test 3 magazines with regular standard federal aluminum case, 230 grain full metal jacket, 45 ACP, and see if the gun with the upgraded springs can function and cycle reliably. The first 2 rounds in this magazine are the 255 grain Buffalo Bore. We're going to show you the recoil impulse difference between those and then the standard 230 grain full metal jacket loads. So let's take a few shots. You'll also notice the difference in the smoke too. That is low flash powder that Buffalo Bore claims to use. There's a lot of smoke there. You'll see the difference when we run the federal. One other thing I failed to mention earlier when we were talking about the upgrades, I also installed an EGW oversized firing pin stop, which needed to be fitted. I needed to modify it to make it for a Series 80 1911, and there's no radius on the bottom. So it's camming the hammer at a lower degree closer to the fulcrum, so it makes it harder for the slide to come back than it did with the factory, which was rounded and easier to push the hammer back. So that was one other modification we made to this gun. So let's take a few shots, 2 with the buffalo bore, and then the rest are the standard Federal 230 grain. Here we go. Now the Federal. There you have it. 3 magazines, function just fine with standard 230 grain ball ammo running at about 880 feet per second. And it also operated, for the most part, with the 255 grain buffalo bore hard cast at running around 1100 feet per second, or just a little bit under. So now I have a firearm that can handle 45 ACP, 45 ACP plus P, plus P plus, and 45 super. Fantastic firearm. I find it to be far more versatile than the 10mm. Not knocking the 10mm, but I think the 45 super setup is the way to go. So, thank you, gentlemen. We'll talk soon.